Xyler had always loved cooking. Not just cooking but creating flavors no one had ever tried before. On the great space station of Trelex 9, floating silently above a glowing blue planet, Xyler worked in a kitchen bigger than most homes. His long, green fingers moved skillfully, mixing strange spices and alien ingredients from every corner of the galaxy. Steam rose from bubbling pots, and lights flickered softly across polished metal counters. Xyler enjoyed the chaos of it all, the smells, the colors, the excitement of trying something new. One quiet afternoon, a small crate arrived from an unremarkable cargo ship. Xyler's eyes widened as he read the label, Human Comfort Food. He had heard of humans, the newest species to travel the stars, but he did not know much about them. Comfort food? Xyler had no idea what that meant. Still, curiosity bubbled inside him like one of his simmering sauces. He carefully opened the crate and saw packets of strange items, square golden breads, soft white cheeses, and a small bar of dark, sweet chocolate. They seemed almost ordinary, yet something about them felt different. He touched the bread first. It was soft and warm to the touch, almost as if it were alive. Xyler sniffed it. The smell was faint but comforting, reminding him of things he could not name. He looked around his empty kitchen, then tore a small piece and tasted it. Immediately, something strange happened. His eyes widened, and a warmth spread through him from the tip of his fingers to the top of his head. His mind felt lighter, almost happy in a way he had never known. It was not just food, it was joy. Xyler stared at the bread, unsure if it was magic. He tried the cheese next, a creamy, soft piece. The flavor danced in his mouth. He felt calm yet excited, like watching a comet streak across the sky for the first time. The chocolate was even stronger. One small bite and his chest felt full, almost like his heart was smiling. Xyler had tasted many rare ingredients in his long life, but never anything like this. He leaned back in his chair, stunned. For hours he tasted, experimented, and mixed the ingredients in simple ways. He baked small loaves, melted chocolate into sauces, and even made a strange sandwich with bread and cheese. Each creation made him feel more alive. Xyler did not know why, but he felt he had discovered something important, something that could change lives. As he cooked, he spoke softly to himself, a habit he had when experimenting. How can something so simple make me feel like this? His voice was quiet but full of wonder. Xyler had spent decades mastering exotic alien ingredients from distant stars, yet none of them had given him this feeling. It was pure, simple happiness. Word of his experiments soon spread across the station. Alien cooks, curious and suspicious, began sneaking into his kitchen. They sniffed the air, watching Xyler mix bread and chocolate together. Some frowned, others whispered. "This is human food," Xyler said proudly. "Simple, yes, but it is more than taste. It is joy." A small group of aliens timidly tried a piece of bread. Their faces changed slowly at first, then they gasped. A warmth spread across their bodies, eyes brightening. Xyler watched carefully. He realized that humans, a young and fragile species compared to his own, had somehow created something powerful. Something no alien could make. Xyler felt excitement and fear at the same time. The next day he prepared a feast. Plates of bread, cheese, and chocolate were arranged carefully. He called a few station officials to try it. They were skeptical, as many aliens were cautious of new experiences. But one bite and Xyler saw their reactions. Their stiff bodies relaxed, voices softened, and for the first time some laughed, a sound rare in alien culture. Xyler's heart soared. But not all reactions were friendly. Some aliens looked angry, confused, even jealous. Xyler did not notice at first, too busy enjoying the sight of others discovering joy. Yet whispers began to spread through the station. Human food, dangerous. This could upset the balance. How can something so simple affect us like this? Xyler frowned. He had not meant to cause trouble. He only wanted to share a taste of happiness. By evening, the entire kitchen smelled of warm bread and chocolate. Xyler sat alone, tired but content, thinking about what had happened. He had uncovered a secret hidden in humanity's ordinary meals. Something so small, so innocent, yet powerful. He realized that if word of this spread beyond the station, it could change the galaxy. Xyler leaned back, staring at the stars beyond the windows. He smiled, knowing he had discovered more than a recipe. He had found a force no alien had ever felt before. Joy. Comfort. Something ordinary humans had always taken for granted. Xyler whispered softly, "This could be the beginning of something incredible." And he did not know that he was right. After Xyler's discovery of human comfort food, the news spread quickly through the busy halls of Trelex 9. Aliens who had tasted the bread, cheese, and chocolate whispered about the strange, warm feelings the food gave them. Some were amazed, some confused, and some jealous. Xyler did not expect his simple kitchen experiments to attract so much attention. At first, only a few visitors came to try the food. But soon more aliens arrived, drawn by curiosity or rumor. Xyler found himself serving beings from distant planets, each with strange shapes and colors, all eager to taste the human food. Some had tentacles, others had multiple eyes, and a few floated slightly above the floor. They all reacted the same way: joy, surprise. A few even laughed aloud, a sound so rare in alien culture that it made Xyler smile. Xyler watched with fascination as the aliens experienced what humans called comfort. Bread and chocolate, something so simple, had effects no spice or exotic ingredient could produce. The aliens' stiff movements softened, their voices became warmer, and some even held hands or touched their companions in ways that signaled trust. Xyler realized he had uncovered something extraordinary. Humans had unknowingly created something more powerful than weapons, more convincing than politics, a true force of influence. The station officials soon heard the news. Some were curious, some skeptical, and some worried. Xyler, one stern-looking alien said, "You must be careful. This influence could upset the balance of power between our factions." Xyler frowned. He had not meant to upset anyone. He only wanted to share joy, not politics or war. But the warning came too late. Word of human comfort food had already reached alien leaders across nearby star systems. Some saw it as a tool, a way to gain advantage over rivals. Others saw it as a danger, fearing that such simple joy could weaken their people's discipline. Spies began sneaking aboard the station, tasting small bites and rushing back to report their findings. The galaxy, previously calm, began to buzz with excitement and tension. Xyler continued his experiments carefully. He tried new combinations: bread with chocolate, cheese with honey, and even small pastries filled with fruit. Each new dish brought smiles, laughter, or quiet reflection. Xyler noticed that some aliens became competitive over the food. They wanted more, they wanted it first, and they wanted to control it. It amazed him that humans, a species so small and young, could create something that stirred such strong feelings. One day, Xyler prepared a special feast for a visiting delegation from two rival planets. The room was large and bright, with silver walls reflecting the glow of hanging lights. Plates of bread, cheese, chocolate, and pastries were arranged carefully, each dish steaming and smelling faintly sweet. The delegates hesitated at first, watching each other, unsure what to do. Xyler invited them to taste, promising only that they would feel something new. Slowly the aliens reached out. One took a piece of bread and nibbled. Then another tried the chocolate. Almost immediately their expressions changed. Stiff postures softened, their eyes widened, and some laughed, a sound so rare it echoed strangely in the high ceiling. Xyler felt a small thrill. He had seen joy in many forms, but never like this. Humans, through their comfort food, had created something that even aliens could not resist. But tension soon returned. Some delegates began to argue over the food. "This is unfair," one said. "They did not share this with us first." Another shouted, "We must control it, or we will be weak compared to those who taste it." Xyler realized then that the simple joy he had discovered could also bring greed, envy, and even conflict. Word reached the commanders of the alien fleets. They began sending emissaries to the station, demanding Xyler's knowledge of human comfort food. Xyler refused, explaining that the food was not meant to be a weapon. But the leaders did not understand. They saw potential power in something humans considered ordinary. What humans called bread and chocolate, aliens now called dangerous influence. Xyler began to worry. He had never intended to start a war. All he wanted was to share happiness. Yet everywhere he looked, simple meals were creating tension. Small fights broke out in corridors, debates raged in council halls, and factions prepared to claim control of what humans had created unknowingly. Xyler felt a heavy weight on his shoulders. He knew that if things continued, something much worse could happen. Still he continued to cook. Each dish was prepared with care, a silent hope that the aliens could learn from it, that they could feel more than fear or anger. As he arranged another plate of bread and chocolate pastries, Xyler looked out of the kitchen window. The stars shone brightly, distant suns and planets scattered across the black sky. He wondered if humans even knew the power of their simple foods, or if they would ever understand how much influence their joy could have. Xyler whispered to himself almost as a prayer, "May they use this wisely, before it is too late." And as the aliens tasted again, some laughed, some argued, and some simply sat quietly, lost in the strange warmth the food gave them. Xyler realized that he had opened a door to something no one could have predicted. The galaxy was changing, and it had begun with a simple loaf of bread and a piece of chocolate. Tension spread across the galaxy faster than Xyler could have imagined. The story of the human comfort food had reached distant empires, and what had started as curiosity now threatened to become something dangerous. Alien fleets began moving closer to Trelex 9, and spies were everywhere. Xyler's small kitchen, once a place of joy and experimentation, now felt like the eye of a storm. It began with the rival factions sending messengers demanding Xyler's recipes. One ambassador, tall and silver-skinned, arrived with a stern voice. "Xyler," he said, "you must give us the knowledge of these human foods. They are too powerful to remain in one place. We cannot allow imbalance." Xyler shook his head. "This is not a weapon," he said softly. "It is just food. Joy. Comfort. It was never meant for power." The ambassador's eyes narrowed. Food that makes beings lose control, forget discipline, and argue among themselves is power. Do not pretend otherwise. He left, and Xyler felt the weight of the galaxy pressing on him. His simple meals, meant to bring happiness, had now become a threat. Soon, small fights began breaking out on the station. Delegates argued over who could taste the dishes first. Some tried to sneak extra pieces into their quarters. Others demanded that Xyler cook only for their faction. Even the kitchen assistants, usually calm and obedient, whispered nervously. Xyler realized that what humans called comfort could also bring greed, envy, and tension. Across star systems, fleet commanders watched closely. "If we control this food," one said, "our forces will gain an advantage. We will understand emotion and we can use it to influence enemies." Another disagreed. "No. Allowing anyone to spread this, it could destroy discipline. Our people may rebel, fight over it, or even stop following orders." Xyler overheard their reports through intercepted messages. The aliens were taking his simple recipes as a strategic weapon. One night, Xyler prepared a small dish for himself, trying to calm his nerves. He sat alone, tasting a piece of bread with chocolate and cheese, letting the warmth spread through him. He thought about humans, the small, fragile species that had created this simple joy without knowing it. Xyler felt a strange pride but also fear. If these beings, young and naive, could create such influence, what would happen if the galaxy turned it into war? The conflict escalated quickly. Some alien leaders began mobilizing fleets, claiming they needed to protect their people from uncontrolled joy. Others demanded Xyler hand over all human recipes immediately. The space station, once a hub of trade and learning, became tense and silent. Every corner felt watched. Xyler's small kitchen, filled with the smell of bread and chocolate, now felt like a battlefield. Xyler tried to reason with the factions. He invited leaders to taste the food together, hoping that the shared joy could calm anger. At first it worked. Aliens softened, some even laughed or smiled. But the effect was temporary. When the taste faded, old rivalries returned stronger than before. One ambassador shouted, "We cannot trust this. We cannot allow another faction to control joy." Xyler realized then that simple happiness was too powerful to control. Meanwhile, spies smuggled pieces of human comfort food across the galaxy. Each bite spread the strange, warm feelings, and alien populations began experiencing joy and curiosity in ways they had never felt before. Leaders panicked, unsure how to maintain control over their citizens. Small revolts began in distant star systems, not violent but chaotic, as aliens argued over who had tasted first or who deserved more. Xyler watched helplessly, knowing that he had never intended this outcome. In the middle of it all, Xyler decided to act. He gathered the most important leaders for a meeting. He spoke softly but firmly, "This food is not for control. It is not for power. It is joy. You cannot take it as a weapon. You cannot fight over it. Humans did not create it for war. You must understand that before it is too late." Some listened, some ignored him, and some laughed. Xyler felt a mix of hope and despair. He knew the power of humans' comfort food, but he also knew the alien leaders would not easily accept the idea that joy was not a tool. By the end of the week, fleets moved closer to Trelex 9. Small skirmishes erupted near supply ships. Rumors of war filled the air. Xyler's kitchen, once filled with warmth and laughter, became a silent reminder of the chaos that simple meals had caused. Yet Xyler did not give up. He continued cooking, hoping that the power of taste, memory, and comfort could still reach hearts before the galaxy exploded into full war. As he prepared another small loaf of bread, he whispered to himself, "If humans can create this, maybe they can also teach them peace. Xyler did not yet know how, but he believed that somewhere in the simple ordinary meals of humans lay a solution powerful enough to stop the galaxy from tearing itself apart. And so the conflict had begun, not with weapons but with bread, cheese and chocolate. The galaxy was on the brink, and Xyler's discovery had unknowingly placed humanity at the center of a storm they had never even known existed. The galaxy had grown tense. Fleets hovered near Trelex 9, ambassadors argued endlessly, and spies reported every movement of the alien chef Xyler. Wars seemed possible all because of something humans called comfort food. Yet, far from the chaos, humans were unaware of their quiet power. One day, a human ambassador named Elena arrived at the space station. She was small, unassuming and polite, with curious eyes that missed nothing. She had heard that Xyler, an alien chef, was experimenting with human recipes and that the results had drawn the attention of entire empires. She did not fully understand why aliens were fighting over food, but she knew humans had something unique to offer. Xyler met her in the kitchen, nervously explaining what had happened. "They fight, not with weapons but over taste," he said, gesturing at trays of bread, chocolate and cheese. "Simple food, yet it changes them. I do not know how to stop it." Elena smiled softly. "Sometimes they do not need to fight at all," she said. "They just need to understand." She rolled up her sleeves and began helping Xyler arrange the dishes. She mixed, baked, and presented the food with care, creating a small feast meant to show what humans truly valued, not power but connection, comfort, and happiness. When the first delegation arrived, they were suspicious. Silver-skinned beings and tall, armored aliens eyed the human food warily. But Elena spoke kindly, explaining the food simply. "This is for sharing," she said. "It is not a weapon. It is meant to bring people together." Xyler watched as she worked, amazed at how calm her presence was. The aliens took their first bites. At first they were stiff, unsure of what to expect. Then slowly they relaxed. Their eyes softened. One alien let out a laugh, small and quiet at first, then louder as others joined. No one had ever laughed in this way during diplomatic meetings. The room felt lighter. Xyler felt hope stir in his chest. Elena moved from table to table, encouraging the delegates to talk, to share their thoughts, and even to pass the food to one another. Bread was broken and shared, chocolate was tasted together, and cheese passed from hand to hand. For the first time, the leaders saw that joy did not have to be a threat. It could create trust. It could create peace. Word spread quickly. Delegates who had been tense and suspicious now whispered to one another about the strange warmth they felt. Emotions they had long ignored bubbled to the surface. Gratitude, curiosity, and even a faint feeling of camaraderie. Xyler realized that humans, without trying, had created something far stronger than any weapon. Comfort food could teach peace. But not all aliens were ready to listen. A few delegates argued, claiming that they could not allow rivals to gain such power. Elena stayed calm, serving the food gently and explaining its purpose again. "This is not about winning or losing," she said. "This is about understanding each other. Try it. Share it. You will see." Slowly the doubters softened. They took a bite, hesitated, then shared their food with their rivals. A wave of laughter and conversation spread across the room. Xyler felt a smile grow on his face. He had seen joy before, but this was different. This was connection. This was the first step toward ending the tension that had begun to tear the galaxy apart. Elena then suggested a larger gathering, inviting representatives from other nearby systems. She and Xyler worked day and night, preparing more bread, chocolate, and cheese. They baked pastries, layered sandwiches, and simple cakes, all carefully presented. Every dish carried the same human message: happiness, sharing, and comfort. The gathering was unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. Aliens who had once fought and argued over taste, now sat together, tasting food, talking, and even sharing stories. Walls that had divided factions for centuries seemed to melt, at least for a while, under the simple act of sharing a meal. Xyler watched quietly, amazed at how humans could influence even the most stubborn beings without force, without fear, and without a weapon. By the end of the event, the station was filled with laughter, quiet conversation, and a soft sense of relief. Fleets that had been poised for conflict slowly returned to their positions, no longer tense with suspicion. Xyler realized that the war he had feared might be avoided, not through orders, not through power, but through the quiet influence of human comfort and care. That night, Xyler and Elena cleaned the kitchen, exhausted but satisfied. The stars outside shone brightly as if approving of their small victory. Xyler looked at Elena and said, "I never thought humans could teach aliens peace. with just food. Elena smiled. They do not need to know it as power, she said. They only need to taste it and feel it. Sometimes that is enough to change everything. Xyler nodded, realizing that the simple, ordinary meals humans took for granted had saved the galaxy from a war that could have destroyed it. And somewhere deep in his heart, he knew that this was only the beginning of humanity's quiet, incredible influence on the stars. After the great feast, the galaxy slowly began to calm. The fleets that had hovered like dark clouds over Trelex 9 retreated to their home systems. Ambassadors no longer argued constantly, and spies returned empty-handed, unsure what to report. The humans, through their simple food, had created a bridge where weapons and fleets could not. Xyler watched this change with awe. Elena stayed on the station for a few more days, helping Xyler organize smaller meals for visiting factions. Each gathering brought new stories, laughter, and quiet understanding. Aliens who had once viewed humans as weak or insignificant now saw something remarkable. A species whose simple creations could affect hearts and minds across the stars. Xyler realized that human comfort food had become more than taste. It had become a symbol of peace. The kitchen, once the center of chaos and tension, was now filled with warmth and calm. Xyler arranged trays of bread, cheese, chocolate, and pastries carefully, each dish simple but inviting. He noticed that the aliens no longer rushed or argued. They waited patiently, sharing and tasting together, listening to one another. The food had taught them patience, joy, and cooperation, in ways no weapon could. Elena explained to Xyler why humans had created comfort food in the first place. "We make these dishes for family, for friends, for people we care about," she said. "It is not about power. It is about connection. That is what makes it strong. That is what you saw in them, the joy, the care, the simple warmth." Xyler nodded. He understood now. The galaxy had taken the wrong lesson at first, seeing power where there was only connection. News of the human influence reached distant planets. Leaders who had once considered humans weak began to change their minds. Some sent small delegations to Trelex 9, eager to see the human joy for themselves. Xyler and Elena welcomed them, sharing food and stories. Even the most suspicious aliens began to laugh, to talk, and to enjoy the simple pleasure of sharing a meal. The galaxy, once tense with rivalry and suspicion, began to feel lighter. Xyler noticed something remarkable. Some alien cultures, previously known for strict rules and cold logic, began experimenting with human-style meals. They adapted the bread, chocolate, and cheese to their own tastes, adding spices and ingredients from their worlds. Still, the heart of it remained the same, sharing comfort and care. Xyler realized that humans, without meaning to, had created a new kind of diplomacy. Food could unite, teach, and heal where words or weapons could not. One evening, Xyler and Elena sat together in the quiet kitchen. The stars glimmered beyond the window, and the station was calm for the first time in weeks. Xyler leaned back and said, "I never imagined something so simple could change the galaxy. Humans, they are incredible." Elena smiled. "You saw it too. Sometimes the most ordinary things, bread, chocolate, care, can become extraordinary when shared." She paused. "And this is only the beginning. One day the galaxy will learn more from humans than from fleets or battles. They will see strength and joy, in connection, in what we call ordinary." Xyler nodded, feeling a quiet pride. He had been the first alien to taste human comfort food, the first to understand its power, and now he had witnessed its effect across worlds. Yet he knew the real heroes were the humans themselves, unaware of the reach their simple joy had achieved. As weeks passed, tensions faded completely. Fleets returned to routine patrols, ambassadors built friendships, and the station became a place of learning and sharing. Xyler continued to cook, experimenting with new combinations, always keeping the spirit of human comfort food alive. He taught aliens how to prepare the dishes, not as tools of control, but as symbols of connection. One day, a message arrived from a distant planet. The leader wrote that they had tried human-style bread and chocolate with their people, and for the first time in centuries, their citizens laughed together, shared meals without arguments, and felt something new, peace. Xyler read the message aloud to Elena and they both smiled. It was a small victory, but it was proof that human simple creations could change hearts and minds. Finally, Xyler understood the truth. Humans were not just another species in the galaxy. They were a force unlike any other. Without armies or weapons, without advanced technology, they had created something that could unite civilizations. The power of comfort, joy, and shared care. As Xyler prepared one last tray of bread, cheese, and chocolate, he looked out at the stars. He imagined humans living quietly on their small blue planet, unaware of the ripple their meals had sent across the galaxy. He whispered softly, "Thank you, humans, for this gift. For showing us that the smallest things can make the biggest difference." The kitchen was silent except for the soft hum of the station. Outside, fleets moved in peaceful patterns. Aliens shared meals and laughter. And somewhere, in the simple act of eating together, the galaxy learned a lesson no war could teach. Joy and comfort can be stronger than fear, and kindness can unite even the most distant worlds. And so, the story ended not with fire or conflict, but with bread, chocolate, and a quiet, enduring peace, brought by humans and their simple, extraordinary comfort food.